Greetings, it's your girl B.A.Y.E Upcycle, and this is hashtag what we're talking, part 2 of what carbohydrates do. Now, I did the same thing. I wrote some stuff out about complex carbs. The complex carb part is still a little confusing to me. It didn't come as easy as the simple carb part did, but I'm gonna still share it with you. And below in the comments, if you have any information that I have given that was wrong, can you please share the information so that way I can learn from you and we can share the correct information with other people who watch these videos. So I open that door up. Any information you see on any of my videos that you have proof of to be correct, I'm totally open of you sharing that, so that way we can all go to that location, read it for ourselves, and then determine on what we're going to believe from there. So moving on, I did like I did last time. I wrote it on a piece of paper to try to help get a better visual of what is going on. So basically, complex carbs are a strand of monosaccharides, which is our single simple sugar molecules, and they are hundreds or thousands of strands of these monosaccharides connected, and their other name is polysaccharides, poly being the prefix for many, right? So these are many single sugar molecules put together to make what is called a polysaccharide. And these are what the complex carbs are made of. And in these complex carbs, they break down to two main types, one being a starch and the other one being diet fiber. So without further ado, let me get you the paper so we can go from those notes, and then I'll add a little bit extra. All right, you ready? Here we go. So there I have it. So complex carbs are polysaccharides. Now, our complex carbs are made of two main carbs within themselves, one being a starch, and a starch is the main storage from carbs in plants, made up of glucose molecules, can be digested into nutrition and used in our body. The second one is a dietary fiber. Now, dietary fibers is where I kind of like get lost at, but I will read to you what I have. Dietary fibers are plant carbs that provide structure for plants, but is not a nutrient for us, but they are important. And the reason why the dietary fibers are important is because there's two types of fibers. There is a soluble fiber, which dissolves and spread out in the water in our cells, and then there's the insoluble fibers that don't dissolve in the waters that are in our cells, but when they're with the cellulose, they absorb large amounts of water that is needed to properly remove feces. So when we're talking about feces, and from my understanding, when we pass our feces, it should float. When it does float, that means our diet is basically in line how it's supposed to be, and we have the proper amount of water, and we have the proper amount of fiber, insoluble fiber, to help us pass through those feces. So there's just, you know, a natural, a soft, firm, well, a soft, they're not runny, just like a soft consistency to them. They're not firm, it doesn't sink to the bottom, it's not disappearing or anything like that. I know it's kind of gross to be talking about feces, but you know, we're talking about our diet, and all of this goes hand in hand. So with all that being said, with the complex carbs, something else that they included in the book was that in our cells, glucose becomes oxidated, and it produces a substance, the carbon dioxide in the water mixes, and and that gives us our energy, right? Now, here's where it goes a little deeper, and I hope I explain this right, where I'm not losing nobody. So when we have more glucose, when we have too much glucose in our body, and our body has already used up the glucose that is needed at that point, what it does is it actually stores that glucose. So it stores the energy, right? And it's called glycogen, glycogen, right? And the glycogen, it is a poly-saccharide that is stored, right? And when the energy is needed, then it changes back into glucose. This process is called respiration, right? Not perspiration, but respiration. And that's where the extra amount of glucose changes into the glycogen, and it is stored, right? And then when we need that energy, the glycogen changes back to glucose, and we use it as energy. And when we have an excess amount of glucose, and we already have stored glycogen, that excess amount of glucose turns into fat. That's why people say that sugars goes into fat. So that's the breakdown, right? Hold on, let me see how. Okay, we're at 6 minutes, 52 seconds. So, because I think I get it now. Now that I'm explaining it, I think I get it. So, when I eat in a peach, right? I eat a peach. That is a fructose, right? That is a monosaccharide. And that goes into the body, right? And when it's mixed with other stuff, let's say I have a bowl of cereal, a bowl of Cheerios, and I have a banana, and I have some extra sugar put into it. Now I have a monosaccharide, and I have a disaccharide, and we have these cereals, and all these molecules are mixed together. Now we have these polysaccharides, right? And if after I eat, I go work out, I come back in, I'm using up the glucose that is needed for that energy, right? So I'm using it up. But when I don't exercise, or I just eat that bowl of cereal with that extra sugar, with the milk too, don't forget the milk, the lactose, and those bananas, and I just go lay down, and I already have stored glucose, which is the glycogen, right? I already have that. Now the food that I just ate becomes fat, and the only way to get rid of it is to do it. Is to exercise and actually get motivated, go for a walk, some type of something that gets my body moving, to use that energy to get rid of the extra, right? So that's why they say when you diet and you exercise, because dieting cuts back on how much we intake, right? So a proper diet cuts back on how much we intake the saccharides, right? And when we limit that, and we spend more time exercising to expel the extra fat, to expel, basically the fat is well, that's the fat, but we need to get energized to expel that extra glucose and stuff out of us. Then we're not around with muffin tops and extra tires and love handles and all that. So I think I'm starting to get it. Thank you for having a listening ear. Like I said, if you have any other information you want to share, if you have a link to something that I said that wasn't correct, please provide it down in the comment section. Okay. I don't know where my time is, but I think I need to go. So until next time, peace.